Hey everybody, Rachel Mikulov here from Empire Tax Professionals. As many of you know, I'm the CEO of Empire Tax Professionals, and I'm also a licensed enrolled agent, licensed in 50 states. There's just like a lot of business owners that I speak to on a consistent daily basis, and everybody thinks that they don't have any issues. Everyone thinks like they don't have any accounting problems, any tax issues, until I ask them specific questions on, who does your payroll, who does your sales tax, who does your bookkeeping, and then we find out issues that they're having that the business owner never even knew about. So I wanted to share a specific story that I had with a business owner. As many of you know, last week I went to the Grant Cardone conference, and actually it was like I signed up for one of his programs where his partner was giving it was an event, and during lunch I met a lady, and she asked me, what do you do? And I said, I'm an accountant, I'm licensed by the IRS. And I asked her, what do you do? And she says, I own a air conditioning and HVAC company. And I said, awesome, and she said, I'm not the type to like sell my services until someone really asks me more information. And we don't really sell services, right? We sell information and value. And if you see that you're able to help someone, only then they're gonna ask you for your phone number and ask you for your contact. So specifically with this new client, she said, how are you different than than all the other accountants? And I asked her, I told her, I said, I innovated this business where we offer virtual CFO services for, bookkeeping, payroll, and it's like a monthly package where every single business needs. And she says, oh my God, tell me more. And I said, we, on a monthly basis, we send clients monthly bookkeeping reports, we process their payroll, we process their sales tax, we file their corporate returns, we do their individual returns, we help them with IRS and state notices. And her eyes were like wide, and she's like, okay, tell me more. And I said, well, let me ask you this. Do you get your monthly reports every single month? And she goes, yeah. And we were having lunch, so she was eating. And she said, yeah, I do. I get my monthly reports. And I said, okay, that's great. Does somebody on a higher level reviews the monthly reports with you? And she said, no, I really just take the reports and she files it, whatever it is. Then I said, okay, does anybody calculate your estimated tax payments? And as she was eating, she looks up and she says, no, I wish someone did. And I said, wow. I said, this is the problem. So a lot of people, they don't know that they have issues. And I started diagnosing her and asking her specific questions. So I said, tell me more about that. Well, she said, last year she had an unexpected tax bill and her bookkeeper was doing her reports every single month. And nobody told her that she needed to pay estimated tax payments every single quarter. And I said, this is exactly how we're different. We guide people. We give people specific guidance and we say, okay, let's do your bookkeeping so we can give you guidance on or give you ideas on what you could do so you could save money on taxes and let you know what specific tax planning strategies you are able to implement to reduce your taxable liability. So then I said, okay, let me ask you a few other questions because you're so happy with your bookkeeper and your year-end accountant. Let me ask you, just a few key questions that will tell me a little bit about your situation without me looking at your tax returns or anything. So I asked her, do you know what entity you are? She goes, yeah, I'm an LLC. I said, okay, single member, multi-member, are you taxed as an S Corp? She says, no, I'm not taxed as an S Corp. My accountant told me being taxed as an S Corp helps me increase the risks of audit and helps me pay more taxes. And I'm like looking at her like, oh my God, another local idiot, a local accountant, that doesn't know what he's talking about. So I said, so what's your entity? She goes, I'm a multi-member LLC. And I said, oh my God, you're overpaying in taxes. And again, one entity, one thing that's incorrect. Bookkeeping, the first mistake was, again, entity is wrong. Bookkeeping, she gets her reports, but nothing is being done with that. She's not getting her estimated tax payments on a quarterly basis because her bookkeepers don't know how to calculate estimated tax payments based on her bookkeeping numbers. The next question I asked her, I said, tell me about your payroll situation. She goes, okay, we have a lot of contractors And when we have a lot of contractors, it gets really complicated. Only I truly understand how to process payroll and everything. And I said, okay, so tell me more about how you, and she told me that she's a multi-member LLC because her and her husband are partners. And I said, okay, so tell me more how you pay you and your husband pay each other. And she goes, oh, we just pay ourselves on a W-2. And I said, okay, great. How do you calculate how much you need to pay yourself? And she goes, nobody really guides us. We just process, payroll every single week, and the payroll company does it for us. Another problem. I said, did you know as a multi-member LLC, you are not allowed to pay yourself on a W-2? She goes, what? I said, yeah, it is illegal for you to pay yourself on a W-2 if you're a multi-member LLC. And she's like, what in the world? No, my accountant never told me this. My bookkeeper never told me this. And I said, yeah, I think you really need to have another conversation with your accountant, because the problem is your bookkeeper is doing one thing, your accountant is doing another, and your payroll company is doing another, and they're not communicating with one another. And this woman her entity is incorrect. Her payroll is okay. Like, it's okay for her to process payroll through other companies. Through, her contractors, but she is paying herself a high amount, and nobody's really helping her with compliance. She is not allowed to be on payroll. So now she would need to either convert herself to an S corp, because if you're an S corp, you are allowed to be on payroll. And the problem is her entity is wrong. Nobody guided her until I just had lunch with her, right? Isn't that just crazy? It's crazy to believe that there's so many local accountants that think about one thing, just to prepare the returns, and that's it. The bookkeepers think about one thing, how to do data entry and process, and just put numbers into the proper categories, and their job is complete. The payroll service provider has one job. Their job is to process payroll. Every single person here is acting like a robot. The bookkeeper is just doing data entry. The payroll service provider is just processing payroll. The accountant is taking the numbers from the bookkeeper, and they're entering and preparing their returns. But nobody is putting the entire picture together, and nobody is helping the business owner make sure they pay less taxes and make sure they're compliant. Nobody was helping her specifically. Her entity was wrong. Nobody's helping her with estimated tax payments. No one is telling her how much her payroll should be, and helping her with IRS and state notices. I don't remember what state she was in, but it's just crazy to see how she thought that she had like the perfect bookkeeper, the perfect accountant, until she had lunch with me. Now, many times when you go to a doctor, you say, oh, doctor, my heart hurts or my head hurts, and I'm not really sure what's going on. The doctor takes your blood work and says, oh, they look at specific facts and details and say, oh, you have high diabetes, you have high blood pressure. There are specific things that are wrong because they're looking at the blood work, but the person does not know what problems they are having. And I feel like it's really very similar to the accounting and business world. The business owner goes through their life thinking that they're paying the least amount of taxes, thinking that their bookkeeper is helping them, or a bookkeeping software is helping them. A bookkeeping software will never help you save money on taxes. A robot cannot think about the entire picture and give you guidance on how to save money on taxes. Don't ever think a VA can help you with, especially a VA overseas. It just drives me crazy to see business owners, high-level seven-figure business owners, allocate their bookkeeping to, the other country when U.S. accountants that are CPAs, that are a licensed enrolled agent, some of them, they don't even know how to help clients in the U.S. And here you're going to hire somebody overseas. It makes no sense, okay? So in this specific situation, she was overpaying in taxes. She looked like she was in her 50s, I would say. And I as I mentioned, in one of my posts earlier, I spoke to an insurance agent, and same exact thing, at a local CPA in Manhattan, and he was able to do the bookkeeping himself. He gave it to an accountant, prepared his return, paid him $750, which again is overly priced, and never really guided him and said, hey, should you be an S Corp? Should you be your payroll? Let's strategically think how your payroll, how much you should be paying yourself so you can reduce the risks of audit, pay less taxes, and be compliant, which is what everybody really wants. Nobody is really thinking about the entire picture. And that's why we are able to help so many business owners by putting the entire picture, and you're speaking to one person and they're able to help you with bookkeeping, payroll, estimated tax payments, making the estimated tax payments every single quarter, filing your sales tax returns, and everything from A to Z. I spoke to another client in a different state. I remember what state it was. His accountant, his local accountant, helped him with everything except for sales tax. The business owner thought that everything was done right, until a sales tax agent walked into his business and said, hey, you haven't been filing your sales tax returns for like 2 or 3 years. You have this unexpected tax bill. And he's like, oh my God, I thought my local accountant was handling it all for me. And it's the business owner's responsibility, unfortunately, to really ask the right questions to the accountant to make sure that they are hiring the right accountant for them. And when people come to us, we ask them, who does your bookkeeping? Who does your payroll? And we find problems in every single department that the business owner does not know about. I met a lady yesterday on the airplane and I was talking to her for 3 hours, literally. Real estate agent, amazing lady. I mean, wow, I just felt her energy. And she was like, oh, I have an accountant in Long Island. And I'm like, great. She's like, I pay him $700, $80 or whatever it is a year. And I said, okay, awesome. And she's like, she tells me I'm an independent contractor and, whatever. We were just having small talk. And I asked her, did you take advantage of the SBA or PPP loan? She goes, what's that? And I said, because we were talking about COVID and how businesses are transitioning into the remote world and how her business, she was not allowed to door knock for an entire year, I believe, because, people just, I think because due to the pandemic, the real estate association changed, the rules and everything. And she's like, it was really difficult. Thank God for referrals. She was able to increase her business. And I said, did you take advantage of the PPP loan? And she didn't even know what that was. She didn't even know what the EIDL SBA loan was. And I said, your accountant should have told you about this. She goes, what was it called? She started writing it down, PPP SBA loan. And she goes, what does that stand for? And I tell her, the payroll protection program. And she's like, I'm so upset. My accountant never even told me that. And I said, listen, if you're an independent contractor, you 100% can't take advantage of that, of the loan. Or the PPP loan is a forgivable loan, and the SBA is a 3.75% loan, 30-year term, which is incredible. It's amazing, especially for businesses that need the money so they can continue to survive during these pandemic times. So, and then I tell her, then she tells me she has like a 16-year-old child and she's paying a lot of taxes. And I said, and she tells me how great her child is and how he's so smart, he's so amazing. And I say, hey, let me ask you a question. Do you hire your child? She looks at me like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, he's doing work for you, right? He's helping you with social media and he's helping you with other things. And she goes, my accountant never told me that. And I said, yes. I said, you can hire your child. She's like, let me start writing notes in the airplane. She just started writing notes. Okay. First of all, I'm going to ask my accountant about the PPP loan. Second, I'm going to ask my accountant about the EIDL. So then third, I'm going to ask my accountant about hiring my child. What else don't I know? And I started asking her, so, you mentioned that you're an independent contractor. And she said, yes. I said, I don't know how much money you're making, but if you're making X, Y, it really depends on how much money you're making. Did your accountant ever tell you that you should be an S Corp? Never. She said, never. My accountant never had that conversation with me. And I said, I don't know how good your accountant is, but that's something that your accountant should have discussed with you. At least the SBA loan, at least the PPP loan, at least, having a conversation to see if you qualify, helping you with the hiring your children, helping you and make sure that you're able to reduce your risks of audit and making sure you're compliant. And she says, oh my God, this entire 3 hour, 2.5 hour plane ride, I learned more from you than my local accountant. And I'm like, I can't believe this. I can't believe how a lot of local accountants are not helping business owners with strategic advice, with guidance on what they should do to help their clients get more money, pay less taxes, and be compliant. It's a major problem, and I'm seeing this consistently. One, with the air conditioning company. Two, in the airplane, the real estate agent. And I see this every single day. I spoke to an e-commerce client 2 weeks ago, I believe, making $1 million, young kid, behind on his sales tax, behind on, he actually came to us, he was a multi-member LLC as well. And again, I asked him, I said, why were you a multi-member LLC? Where did you get that from? Did your accountant tell you? And this time he said, no, I just Googled it and I thought that would be the best entity because he has a partner. And a lot of people come to LLC may make sense. It doesn't. Legal, there are companies out there that will help you process the entity. There are companies out there that will help you process payroll. Companies out there that will help you do the robotic bookkeeping work and then prepare your returns robotically. But what you really need is someone understanding your entire situation and say, okay, based on your specific situation, your entity, it makes sense for you to be, whatever it is, and then process it. Bookkeeping, reviewing your specific transactions and helping you strategically deduct expenses legally so you can reduce your taxable liability, right? And then I had a bookkeeper who, I mean, not me, I had a client who had a bookkeeper. And when we reviewed the numbers, I'm like, your ATM withdrawals were never being deducted. Did your bookkeeper ask you what these ATM withdrawals were? And she goes, no, she never did. I said, if you had receipts for those expenses, because you could always pay expenses in cash, you just need to have backup for it. And if you have receipts for it, you could deduct it. She said, my accountant never told me that. And I said, okay, what about these bookkeepers, they think they have one job and they data entry and they don't ask questions. The business owner is really, they're looking up to the business owner so the business owner can guide them. They don't help the clients, pay estimated tax payments. They don't give guidance, which is a major problem in the accounting world. People are just becoming robotic and there's no guidance. So how are we different? And a lot of business owners are asking us, how are we different? This is why we took bookkeeping in-house, not because it's more profitable, because honestly, bookkeeping for us is not profitable at all. It takes a lot of time, energy, and we always need to find experienced accountants who know what they're doing. But with the proper training and whatever, we give them proper training, we are able to help them and obviously give them guidance on how to deduct every single expense strategically. And then once we get the bookkeeping numbers, then we have a conversation with the client and say, hey, your estimated tax payments are whatever, $2,000 and $1,000, depending on what state and what their situation is. And we calculated based on this year's information and not based on last year's information, which is what most lazy accountants do. They look at last year's numbers and they say, okay, your taxable liability was $10,000. How about if you pay $2,500 every single quarter this year, and then we'll figure it out at the end of the year. The business owners are frustrated with that because then they have an unexpected tax bill at the end of the year that nobody wants. So again, back to how we are different. We calculate your bookkeeping and we calculate your estimated tax payments. Then we make sure that your entity is accurate specifically to your to what you're doing, to how much money you're making. We ask you specific questions to help you choose the proper entity. Then we review your sales tax. We work with a lot of e-commerce sellers and we say, okay, where do you have Nexus in? We set up TaxJar for you and make sure that it's done right. Again, there's so many people that come to us and they say, oh, TaxJar is calculating sales tax for me, but then the settings are incorrect. Again, you need a brain behind the software. You can't just process payroll. You can't just process an entity. You need a brain. You need a human mind that will help you with every little thing. Same thing with bookkeeping. Again, you may think, oh, I have QuickBooks, perfect. Do you know how many mistakes I see people using QuickBooks on their own? The chart of accounts are incorrect. The balance sheet is wrong. They don't know how to reconcile bank statements. People think A software is going to help them. A software will not help you. A human mind, a brain, someone that knows what they're doing, an accountant, an experienced accountant will help you. And it's just, you can, technology will never replace a accountant's mind. Again, and I'm proving it to you. There are people that come to us and they say, I'm a multi-member LLC because I Googled it. Yeah, great. You processed it. You've been a multi-member LLC for so many years. And because you were a multi-member LLC and because you processed it correctly, that's not the point. You're the wrong entity. You chose the wrong entity all of these years and have been overpaying in taxes all of these years. Same thing with bookkeeping. Again, it's consistent, and I speak to so many people that don't understand the problems that they're having. They think they have a bookkeeper and everything is done right, and they think the IRS is not coming after them, so everything is done perfectly fine. But if you really want to save money and build wealth, you need to have a virtual CFO service. And whether it's us or someone else, it doesn't really matter. You want to make sure that someone is strategically helping you deduct your expenses with bookkeeping. Someone that understands entity selection and is choosing the proper entity for you. Then sales tax, someone that is overseeing the entire picture in 50 states, diagnosing exactly what you're doing and making sure you're compliant in multiple states and making sure you're filing sales tax registrations and sales tax returns to the appropriate states. Then moving over to estimated tax payments. They're calculating, they're making those payments for you. Then moving over to tax planning, looking at specific tax planning strategies to help you reduce your liability, giving you specific advice on what you should do so you could lower your liability, such as hiring your children and letting you know what you need to do to protect yourself. Because I actually had a client last week who hired his child and thought he was doing everything right. He's like, oh, Rachel, I just hired my child. I paid him every single week. And now, so I spoke to him last week, and he's been paying his child last year. And I said, did you register with Department of Labor? He says, no. Okay. Did you register with Workers' Comp? No. Did you file payroll returns every 3 months? No. Did you give your child a W-2 at the end of the year? No. Did you document his hours? No. And I'm like, you did everything wrong. You did everything wrong. You're supposed to register for Department of Labor, file payroll returns every 3 months. Depending on the state, you need to have workers' comp insurance. There's so many things that needs to be done. It's not about the doing. It's not about processing payroll. It's not about filing that tax return and hoping that the IRS doesn't come after you. It's about doing things right and having the proper backup to make sure that you are compliant and helping you save money on taxes. And a lot of business owners they think that they're doing it right until they speak to a specialist like us. So make sure that, you have an account that's helping you. And most of these issues that I'm seeing is from local accountants. They just think, I don't know what it is, but they have one focus: to prepare the return, to e-file it and get it done. There's no guidance. There's no, oh, you made $200,000 last year. Let's talk about entity selection. Let's talk about putting you on payroll. Let's talk about retirement options or helping you save money. Or I see you have 2 kids that are 12 and 14. Let's talk about hiring them and what we could do to help you hire them and prepare a backup. I see that you work from home. Let's set up an accountable plan and see what that means for you. Nobody talks about these conversations, and it drives me crazy. And if you're not having these conversations with your accountant, that means that you're overpaying in taxes every single year. Again, you could get it done, but you're getting it done wrong. And speaking to business owners consistently is opening my eyes and telling me how much people need our services like right now, because nobody is putting it all together. Nobody, you have one accountant. Even if I had another client, I just remembered a contractor paid his bookkeeper $50,000 a year. And I mean, they were a multi-million-dollar company. And I'm like, why would you do that? And all of their bookkeeping was wrong again, because again, they're doing data entry. In order for your bookkeeping to be accurate, you need to make sure every single bank account is reconciled, every single credit card, even if you don't have that much activity. That $15 bank service charge should be, calculated and allocated to the bank service charge expense. Every single thing for the entire year must be entered. And he paid this bookkeeper $50K a year who walked out on him. Okay, and business and companies won't walk out on you. People, bookkeepers will walk out on you, and you won't know what they did, how they could just quit, and now you have so much liability trying to figure out what they were doing. And this person, she never even picked up the phone on him. She just quit and left. And I don't know what the relationship was, but he paid her $50K. He overpaid her. Okay, he could have just outsourced it all to us, which he's doing now. And we're helping him with bookkeeping, payroll, sales tax, everything for a lot less, for a lot less. And that's it. And a lot of business owners don't really understand. They don't know what's out there. So just, if you think that you have it right, and if you think that your bookkeeping is accurate or your tax returns are correct, we're offering a free second review. Send us your tax returns, send us your bookkeeping files, and we'll do a review. We'll let you know exactly what problems we are seeing, and then we'll let you know how we can help you. Now, obviously, this is just, we're probably going to limit it to like 10 or 15 people. We want to make sure that we're helping proper business owners, and we're only accepting clients that are at least making $10,000 to $15,000 on a monthly basis for CFO services. Because if you're not making that much, then it doesn't make any sense for you to have us. And I know a lot of bookkeeping companies, they'll accept you whether you're making $500 or even $5,000. We could, if you need that, we could probably help you at a discounted rate and grow with you. But we're able to help a lot of business owners that are at least making at least $10,000 to $15,000 a month, and they're growing really fast. Now, again, let us know if you want us to help you with your, let us review, because there's so many people that think they have it perfectly. And I spoke to so many people that are saying, oh, my accountant is fantastic, but never helped them with a PPP loan, never helped them with the SBA loan, never helped them with, setting up an entity, never helped them with strategy. And it's crazy to see how these accountants were trained to just do one job, one thing only, and get rid of the client, and that's it. So our mindset, our focus is more on guidance and strategic, helping business owners save money on taxes, reduce the risks of audit, helping them be compliant, and then also doing it for them so they have the peace of mind. And we're a corporation, we're a company. So we're not like, I'm not gonna walk out on you, obviously. But it's not like the client that had the $50,000 bookkeeper who walked out, and now the business owner has high anxiety and then I had another client who needed to file several years of tax returns because his accountant never filed it, and he was a local guy. He didn't have a team, he didn't have backup, he didn't have an admin. And just be careful who you work with, because your finances determine your wealth. Your finances determine, how long you'll be working for. Meaning, I had, like the client that I mentioned, the insurance agent, he's in his 60s and he's still working. He's been overpaying in taxes for the past 30 years and he's still working. If he hired us in the very beginning, he could have worked part-time and spent time with his wife and kids. Why would he work longer? It's because he's been overpaying in taxes, and now he has no savings. He doesn't even own his own home, and he's in his 60s. Like, that's pretty bad. And he also has a 6-figure tax bill that he's paying, again, because he's been making $400,000 annually, and he's a single member. Actually, he's not even a single member LLC. He's a sole proprietor. He's in his 60s. Oh my God. And I asked him, did your accountant never tell you or discuss an S-Corp option with you? He said never. Okay, did your accountant ever discuss if you could get PPP money? Never. Never. And he's been a client for 2 years, and I'm like, I don't even know. How do you break how do you break it to someone where you tell them you've been overpaying in taxes by $20,000-$30,000 every single year at a minimum? At a minimum. He didn't even deduct his home office expenses because his accountant said it's a red flag. I mean, it's crazy what we see on a daily basis. It's just really sad what we're seeing. And I mean, just know what's out there and make sure that you have, the proper people on your team so they can help you save money on taxes and build wealth so you can be, with your family. You can travel more. You can have more savings, invest money into property so money can work for you. And I mean, that's the end goal, right? So let me know if you have any questions, guys. I appreciate you all watching. Again, we're offering a free bookkeeping review. And if you have any questions about our CFO services, just contact us and we will 100% help you. Thank you so much, guys, and have a beautiful day. Bye.